Bolivia 1825, a nation named after a liberator. This is Freedom Files, the untold story of how nations broke their chains. A land of silver and suffering. Long before it was called Bolivia, this land was known as Upper Peru, one of the most valuable territories in the Spanish Empire. Why? Because of Potosí. High in the Andes stood Cerro Rico, the mountain of silver that financed Spain's empire for centuries. From the 1500s onward, indigenous people were forced into brutal labor. African slaves were brought to the mines. Entire communities were destroyed. Millions died extracting wealth they would never enjoy. Spain grew rich. Upper Peru bled. The people knew the cost of empire better than most. Early revolts and endless repression resistance came early. In 1781, an indigenous leader named Túpac Katari led a massive uprising against Spanish rule. He surrounded La Paz for months, cut off supplies, and demanded freedom for indigenous people. Spain responded with terror. Túpac Katari was captured and executed, his body torn apart. Before his death, he is remembered for saying, "I will return and I will be millions." The rebellion was crushed, but the memory never died. A battlefield for empires. As revolutions spread across South America, Upper Peru became a constant battlefield. Between 1809 and 1825, the region saw more fighting than almost any other territory. Local guerrilla fighters, known as republiquetas, harassed Spanish forces relentlessly. Villages burned, armies passed through. Families suffered. Freedom came slowly and at a terrible cost. Liberation arrives at last. By the early 1820s, Spain's power was collapsing everywhere else. After the decisive victory at Ayacucho, 1824 in Peru, Spanish resistance in Upper Peru finally broke. Patriot forces entered the region. Spanish officials fled. The long war was over. The people now faced a choice. Join another nation, return to colonial rule, or become something new. They chose independence. A new nation is born. 1825. On August 6, 1825, leaders gathered and declared a new republic. They named it Bolivia in honor of Simón Bolívar, the man whose campaigns had shattered Spanish rule. Bolívar himself declined to rule, believing nations should govern themselves. Instead, Antonio José de Sucre became Bolivia's first president. A nation was born, rich in resources, rich in culture, and scarred by history. Freedom with heavy chains still attached independence did not erase injustice. Indigenous communities remained marginalized. Economic power stayed concentrated. Foreign interests soon replaced colonial masters. Bolivia's struggle would continue, not just for sovereignty, but for equality and dignity. Still, one truth remained. The Spanish chain had been broken, and a people long silenced had finally been heard. Moral of the story: freedom can honor its heroes, but it must also serve its people. Bolivia teaches us, true independence is not only breaking chains, but healing the wounds they leave behind.